right. I'm going to go ahead and get these little machines up and running. Looks like we're checking for connection. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. As we're getting started, don't see anybody here yet. Oh, here we go. As we're getting started, I thought it would be good. Oh, Clayton, North Carolina, bam, just like that. Hi from Maine. My mom lived in Maine one time. Well, let's do something fun. I actually looked up the weather in London, United Kingdom this morning, London, England, and I saw that it was going to be mostly sunny and about 15 degrees Celsius. So what's the weather like where you are? What's the weather like? We got France. What's the weather like in France? Oh, hey, Stephen Finch. Nice to see you, GTA campus. Sydney, Australia. My wife just said, hi, babes. Hello, sweetheart. How are you? Good morning. Ypsilanti, Michigan. Is that what that was? Fiji. I bet the weather is delicious in Fiji. Is delicious an appropriate way to describe weather? Not sure. When I was in Scotland one time, everybody kept calling atmospheric. They would say, it's atmospheric today, cool and cloudy where you are. Bahamas, it's hot. I bet it is hot in the Bahamas. I've been there one time. I ate at a seafood restaurant in the Bahamas, and as the appetizer, they threw meat over the deck to sharks. That was pretty intense. Made me feel like I really wanted to eat my eggs. 7 at 7, we're ready to go. This is week 6 of 7 at 7. 7 at 7 has been a 7-week commitment in anticipation of Easter, which is the Super Bowl of our Christian faith. And we're excited about Easter coming. It's just a couple weeks away. And we wanted to prepare our hearts. And so we have set aside 7 weeks to talk through the 7 last sayings of Jesus. And this is week 6. And the word for this week is triumph. And it comes from John chapter 19, verse 30, where Jesus was hanging on the cross and he said, it is finished. And we're excited to talk about triumph this week. And thank you for joining us. If you're on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, we're glad you're here. And I hope this encourages you this morning. 7 at 7, if you haven't been with us yet, has been based around a series and a book that we've been doing called 7 Mile Miracle. And we'd encourage you to pick up the book at anywhere that books are sold online, and definitely encourage you to come and be a part of our worship experiences this weekend or Easter. We'd love to have you. And if you can't be here in person, which of course I would suggest that you hop a plane and bring your friends and family and come to one of our locations. We got GTA, we got Florida, we got Virginia, we got here in Charlotte. And if you can make it to one of our locations in person, that would be best. But if you can't, jump online and join our eFam and be a part of Church Online. Easter's going to be incredible, and we're excited about it. I want to jump into my devotion, and so far you've heard from me twice. If you've been on here every week, this is day 38, I believe, and if you've been on every time, you've heard me twice, and you heard my wife last week. And what? Oh, you want to see a picture of my family? That makes sense. I mean, you've met my wife and I, and of course you'd want to see a picture of the whole family, because at this point, you're kind of a part of our family. So let me see if you can see that. This is my family right here. That's me and my wife. You've met us already. And then Jeremiah is the big boy who looks like me. Micah is our middle son, squished there in the middle. And Hannah's our sweet baby. Can you see them all? Here you go, YouTube. I didn't want to leave you out. Hey, Instagram, just give me a second. I'm showing my picture to YouTube. There you go. So that's my family, and I don't want you to feel guilty. Everybody who sees my family for the first time says, wait a minute, one of these things is not like the other, and you start feeling a little bit like something's off. And that's okay. I'm used to the strange stares in grocery stores and amusement parks. It's I feel like I have to qualify. I am, in fact, not black. I'd love to be, but I'm not. My son is. We adopted him actually 6 years ago, almost exactly. He is about to turn 6. April 18th, he turned 6, and we adopted him as a baby. And that's what I wanted to talk about this morning. In fact, it was Easter, almost 6 years ago. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to say about triumph, in reflection of what Jesus was saying on the cross when he said, it is finished, I was trying to find a moment in my life where I experienced a sense of triumph. Because triumph is not just about victory. Triumph is about overcoming. Triumph is about completion. And when Jesus was hanging on the cross and said, "It is finished," it was more than it's over. It's complete and fulfilled. And I want to talk about that. And so as I was thinking about my story and my life, one of the first things that jumped into my mind as a memory of triumph was almost exactly 6 years ago. It was 5 days after Easter, and we brought my beautiful baby boy, Micah, home, and I was holding him. He was about 9 days old, maybe 10, 11 days old, and was holding him in my living room in my house. And I remember looking down at him and feeling that sense of, it is finished. He is now my son. And there was a sense of triumph in it. And I sent out a tweet, and now you know how old this story is, but I sent out a tweet and I said, on this side of the blessing, I can hardly remember the struggle. And I think that's what triumph feels like. When I was reading the chapter in preparation for this devotion from Pastor Stephen's book, 7 Mile Miracle, he said on page 145, he said, "But I've seen again and again how God has brought good out of these defeating realities." And I think if you're pursuing triumph in your life in any category, you're going to have to first push through some defeating realities. And though our family 6 years later is complete and God has blessed us in ways that we could have never imagined, there was a process that we had to go through to get to the point of experiencing the triumph. And many of the steps of that process involved defeating realities. And have you ever been like really hungry? I'm not talking like, you needed a granola bar. I mean, just like really hungry. Like maybe you were in an extended fast. Maybe you're in an unfortunate situation where you don't have the luxury of a regular meal. But if you've ever been really hungry, then you know when you're really hungry that it's hard to do anything besides think about your next meal. It's hard to focus on anything except getting some food. But what's interesting about physical hunger is that the moment you've eaten something, I'm not talking like 2 days later the hunger pangs kind of go away. The moment you get to eat something, 5 bites into the sandwich, the hunger is gone. It's not like the residual effect of being hungry is still there. It's just gone. You're starving, that's all you can think about, then you eat 5 bites of the sandwich and it's gone. I think that's a good physical comparison to what triumph feels like. When you are in the midst of the struggle, the only thing you can think about is how heavy the struggle feels. But the moment triumph comes, it's as if the blessing erases the struggle. And what I'm sharing with you about this morning, if I was going to put a title on this, is what puts the umph in triumph. Because I think that there's all of us want to win, and all of us want victory, but many of us give up in the umph. And we have a friend who was going through a divorce, and it was one of those unfortunate stories that took a lot of time to unfold. And 3 years she was waiting on the divorce to be finalized. And while she was waiting, she was living in the house where she and her husband had been together. And she made this decision in the midst of the umph. She made the decision to convert her husband, who had already left the house, her husband's closet into a prayer closet. And she actually turned the room that was a reminder of the pain that she was going through into an opportunity to honor and serve God in the midst of her difficulty. And she understood that sometimes the oomph that wants to knock the wind out of you actually needs to be converted. And sometimes when you get the wind knocked out of you, you almost want to give up. You almost want to quit trying. But that's not what we need to do. We need to push through. So back to my story, I was holding Micah in our living room and I was celebrating the great victory. But 5 months before that, I had been in that same exact living room holding a different baby. And that baby's name was Malachi. See, part of our story was not a successful adoption, which we certainly ended up with when we ended up with Micah as a part of our family. But in the midst of becoming a complete family with Micah in it, we adopted a different baby. That baby was named Malachi. And in that same living room, I remember holding Malachi the morning that we were having to give Malachi back to the adoption counselors because his birth mom decided that she didn't want to follow through with the adoption, but instead wanted to be his mom. And so we were handing Malachi back to the adoption counselors, And my 3-year-old son, Jeremiah, at the time that you saw in our picture at the beginning of this, I remember him looking up at Mom and I, or his mom and I, and saying, "Can I hold Malachi one last time before we say goodbye?" And I've had the wind knocked out of me before. Sometimes the oomph makes you want to quit trying. But when we pushed through, it was hard, and finally got to that place 5 months later of holding Malachi. What we were celebrating was not just the victory of having that baby. We were celebrating overcoming 3.5 years of infertility. We were celebrating erasing the fear that this adoption was going to end the same way that the last one did. We overcame the shame and fulfilled the promise of what it meant that we didn't have what it takes to have our own kid, and what it means now that we get to move forward into the calling that God has placed on our lives. And the oomph of the pain and struggle actually created the joy and celebration of the triumph. And I think I want to encourage you right now. I don't know what you're in the middle of, but if you're in the middle of something that feels heavy, maybe you feel like you're getting kicked in the gut. If you continue to push forward and trust God in the process, if you believe, and if you can put the image of Jesus on the cross, enduring and carrying the weight of our sin and our struggle on his shoulders, and saying on the cross, "It is finished," and declaring the triumph that was not just an in-the-moment kind of statement, but a process that was being fulfilled. If you can see that reflection as you struggle through what might be kicking you in the gut and knocking the wind out of you, you too can experience triumph. But triumph does not come without the pain. And I want to encourage you, like Galatians chapter 6, verse 9 says, do not grow weary in doing good. Do not give up trying. Despite the oomph that you might be experiencing, push through. And in the end, you will see the promise fulfilled. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I believe 7 at 7 has been an incredible experience, and we're glad that you came and been a part of us. Make sure you get Pastor Stephen's book, 7 Mile Miracle, and we'd love to see you in church this weekend and on Easter. We love you. Thanks for joining us.